I suppose if there's one thing that Tommy Robinson, Stephen Yaxley, Lennon has mastered, it's the art of being simultaneously reviled and revered, and in huge numbers. His very name provokes an instant reaction. The sort of ideological Rorschach test for contemporary Britain. And to some, he is a wronged crusader against the liberal elite. To others, he's a convicted criminal who's built his career on racism, Islamophobia, and a willingness to stoke division. And his latest act is in this political theatre, took place in London yesterday, where thousands of his supporters marched under banners of Stop the Isolation and Unite the Kingdom, demanding his release from prison. Their chants, "We want our country back" and "We want Tommy out," were countered by an equally vocal opposition, the Stand Up to Racism coalition, who rallied under the banner of anti-fascism and a rejection of far-right extremism. So, who exactly is Tommy Robinson, and why does he continue to command such a devoted following while sparking outright hostility? What I find so extraordinary is that even Julian Assange didn't command marches across London. Robinson does. Robinson, once a humble Luton bricklayer, became a household name when he co-founded the English Defence League in 2009. The EDL was notorious for its aggressive street protests, where rugby hooliganism, Islamophobia, and barely concealed racism merged with a volatile movement. And though Robinson later disassociated himself from that group, claiming that it had become too extreme, the trajectory of his career never really changed. Instead, he became a self-styled journalist and activist, leveraging social media to cultivate a brand of victimhood laced with nationalism. And the formula was simple but effective: provoke outrage, face legal consequences, and then rally his base around the idea that he is a political prisoner, a martyr, being silenced by the establishment. His current prison sentence, 18 months for breaching an injunction barring him from repeating false and defamatory claims about a Syrian refugee, fits neatly into this narrative. And his supporters claim that he is being held in isolation as a means of punishment, while his critics point to his long criminal record, which includes assaulting a police officer, fraud, stalking, and drug-related charges. The weekend's march was yet another example of Robinson's ability to mobilise his supporters, many of whom donned mega Make England Great Again hats in a nod to Trumpism. The demonstration, which saw thousands of flag-waving participants crossing Westminster Bridge, carried all the hallmarks of a populist uprising: claims of censorship, demands for justice, and a heavy reliance on the language of nationalism. But here's where things become even more interesting. A notable presence at the rally was the tech billionaire Elon Musk, at least in spirit, if not in person. Musk has repeatedly tweeted, "Free Tommy Robinson," and engaged in conspiracy-laced rhetoric about Robinson's treatment. And this level of endorsement from one of the world's wealthiest and most influential figures speaks volumes about the intersection between digital populism and real-world radicalism. Yet for all the noise Robinson's movement generates, it's equally met with resistance. The counter-protest, organised by Stand Up to Racism and backed by trade unions, served as a stark reminder that much of Britain finds Tommy Robinson's ideology repugnant. And one might ask, why does Robinson still command such a following, years after his EDL heyday? The answer lies in a deep sense of grievance, whether real or imagined, felt by a segment of British society, and in the fact that Robinson as a person is charming and comes across as sweet and rather innocuous. Many of his supporters are drawn from post-industrial areas where economic decline, migration, and cultural change have fueled resentment. They believe mainstream politics has abandoned them, and Robinson offers a simplistic, albeit inflammatory, solution, not unlike the simplistic, albeit inflammatory solution offered by Farage. And there are interlinking moments, not unlike the simple, albeit inflammatory, solution offered by Andrew Tate, and there are intersections. But equally, Tommy Robinson's presence in the public discourse serves as a function for his opponents. He's a useful enemy, an embodiment of the far-right threat that galvanizes anti-racist movements and ensures vigilance against extremism. And this weekend's protests were less about Tommy Robinson, therefore, and more about the ideological fault lines that run through British society and that have been exacerbated by Brexit. They highlight a deeper, more troubling divide between those who see multiculturalism as a strength and those who see it as a threat, between those who feel included in Britain's future and those who feel left behind. Robinson's legacy, like some sort of bitter cordial, is better, or for better or for worse, will be that of a man who managed to exploit these divisions, fashioning himself into a symbol of resistance for some and a warning for others. And as long as these divides remain, we can expect to see many more marches like the one in London this weekend. And the cordial of Robinson will be poured out again and again.